Hey there, class. I am going to work some homework examples from section 6.5. This is solving equations by factoring. So you should have already been in class when I've taught this lesson or watched a few videos about this topic, and now I'm just going to practice some homework questions with you. In the right corner of the screen, I have some steps that I will be following each time we solve one of these examples. The first one says use the zero factor property to solve this equation and then enter your answer as comma separated list. The first thing I want you to notice is that this equation has already been factored for you. It's been factored into t minus 7 and t plus 9. So the zero factor property says that if you have two factors and they're multiplied together and the product is 0, then one or both of those factors also must equal 0. So this is what I mean. Either t minus 7 could equal 0 or t plus 9 could equal 0. Over to the left side, if t minus 7 equaled 0, what would t be? Well, we can add 7 to both sides. T would be 7. If the factor t plus 9 equaled 0, what would t be? Subtract 9 from both sides, and t would equal negative 9. Those are your two answers. WebAssign has asked that you would put it in a list with a comma separating, so in any order, 7, negative 9 is your answer. Okay, next. Instructions are the same. Use the zero factor property to solve this equation, and well, I have the answer already on the screen for you, but no problem. Let me just show you how it became 0 and 2. This has already been factored for you. Even though this one factor is only an x on the outside of the other factor and it doesn't have its own set of parentheses, that's okay. It's either x equals 0 or the other factor is x minus 2 equals 0. And what is x if x minus 2 equals 0? Well, x has to be positive 2. And so you can see that this one is 0, 2. Okay, next, the instructions say solve for the equation. So notice that it's different than using the zero factor property like the other two problems were, but I want you to still incorporate the zero factor property as you're solving this equation. This time it's going to be important to follow these steps over here to the right side of the screen. The first thing I want you to do is rearrange the equation so that it is set equal to 0. To do that, I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. 2x and 16x are like terms, so that's where I'm going to subtract it from. It's x squared plus 14x plus 49 equals 0. Now we'll factor this trinomial. This is x plus 7 and x plus 7 equals 0. Notice that those factors are exactly the same. And so when we do use the zero factor property, both times each factor, x plus 7, when you set it equal to 0, x is negative 7. So for this question, there's only one answer, and it's negative 7. Okay, this next question is I want you to take what you've learned about solving equations and using the zero factor property, and let's apply it to a real life problem. So here we have a diver who is about to jump into the water. It says a diver jumps from a diving board that is 32 feet above the water. So we'll say 32 feet is the height from the water to the diving board. And then if I continue the word problem, it says with an initial velocity of 16 feet per second. And then it does say in parentheses, see the figure, which WebAssign has a much nicer figure than I am sketching for you. It says the height in feet of the diver is modeled by the position equation. Okay, check out this equation right here. H equals negative 16t squared plus 16t plus 32. Now, how did they come up with that equation? I don't know. I don't know physics very well, but the equation is there for us, and we are supposed to solve for the letter t. Let's just look at this very last sentence. It says where t is the time measured in seconds, how long will it take for the diver to reach the water? So diver is going to go down, splash into the water. Okay, so how long means seconds. Like how long? So how long means the time it takes for it to get down to the height of 0, right? Because if he's 32 feet above the water, if he's at the water, he must be 0 feet away from the water. So the equation is going to be 16t squared plus 16t plus 32 equals 0. Now all I did from the original equation given in the example was move the h equals to the right side. It's just my preference. I like to see the 0 on the right side, but it doesn't matter. Okay, now we're going to follow the steps. We're going to factor this, and then we're going to set those factors equal to 0. First thing I want you to notice is that these numbers are larger than we usually work with. And so I want you to check for a common factor. If you look closely at negative 16, 16, and 32, all three of those coefficients are divisible by 16. And actually, because this leading coefficient is negative, I want you to divide each term by a negative 16. That gives you the equation t squared minus t, because positive 16 divided by negative 16 is negative 1t, minus 2, because 32 divided by negative 16 equals 0. Next step is to factor. This is going to be t minus 2 and then t plus 1 equals 0. The factor t minus 2 equals 0 and the factor t plus 1 equals 0. If the factor t minus 2 equals 0, then t would be 2, because just adding 2 to both sides. If the factor t plus 1 equals 0, t would equal negative 1, again because you subtract 1 from both sides. So we do have two answers, but because this is an application problem, one of the answers is going to make sense and one of them is just not going to make sense. It either took the diver 2 seconds to hit the water or negative 1 seconds to hit the water. Well, it doesn't make sense for the diver to take negative seconds to get to the water. And so t in this problem is 2 seconds. And that's your final answer. All right, take a look at this one. Instructions say solve the equation, enter your answer as a comma separated list. This one is a little tricky because it looks like it's already been factored, but notice it's set equal to negative 11. You may first think, okay, let me just add the 11 over, but then where are you going to add the 11 to? There is an extra step on this problem, and that's actually why I wanted to show it to you. The first thing I want you to do is actually multiply the two factors back out together. We'll just use FOIL. This is x squared, and this is plus 3x minus 9x, and that's minus 27 equals negative 11. Those two, of course, come together. And if you're struggling on this multiplying, go back to section 5.3, our multiplication section, and review some of those skills. Okay, now that we have the equation x squared minus 6x minus 27 equals negative 11, this is when I want you to add 11 to both sides. It's x squared minus 6x minus 16 equals 0. To factor, this is x minus 8 times x plus 2 equals 0. And I'm going to move up here to the top of the screen. If the factor x minus 8 equals 0, the value of x would have to equal positive 8 because we'd add 8 to both sides. If the factor x plus 2 equals 0, x would be negative 2 because we've subtracted 2 from both sides. And so the answer that you would enter in any order is 8, comma, negative 2. All right, guys, that's all for this video. Please let me know if you need any extra help on this homework assignment.